The nu metal era was the greatest era of metal. Say something. What's up, dudes? Simon back with another video. Today we are going to be talking about 30 nu metal albums you should definitely hear. I'm recommending 2 songs off every album. They will all be on a Spotify playlist and the link will be in the description. Number 30, Fallen to the Mark. Starting off with a bit of UK nu metal. Sprinkles of Deftones, sprinkles of Glassjaw, Screamo, heavier side of nu metal. A band that should have been way bigger than they were. A really, really good album. I would recommend the tracks Dark Wounds and No Allies. Check them out. Number 29, Drykill Logic's The Darker Side of Nonsense. I have talked about this album a number of times. Really, really great album. Again, on the heavier side of nu metal, sort of heading towards more of the metal stuff. But a really good listen from start to finish. A lot of energy on this one. I would recommend the songs Nightmare and Feel the Break. Go check them out. Number 28, Apartment 26 with Hallucinating. These guys always got compared to another British band, Pitch Shifter, who I like a lot. But I do think that Apartment 26 were superior in a lot of ways. And I think this album shows that a hell of a lot. Like, it's a really well-made, really good sound quality for the time. Still sounds fantastic today album. I would recommend Backwards and Basic Breakdown. Number 27 is Orgy with Candy Ass. What an amazing album. If you like anything industrial, you know, 9 Inch Nails, Fear Factory, it's not quite as heavy as that, but that sort of industrial side of metal, and especially nu metal, this album is just amazing. It's absolutely brilliant. So anything dark, gothy, this is a fantastic album for you. These guys should be huge. I know I keep saying that, but it's so true. I would recommend Stitches and Dissension. Number 26 is Drowning Pool with Sinner. Now, it's such a shame that Dave Williams died so early because this band, again, should have just been absolute megastars. What a voice this guy had. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I'm sure everyone out there knows the song Bodies, but this is really worth your time. It's got some great, great tracks on it. I would recommend Sinner and Tearaway. Number 25 is POD with Satellite. Lot of soul on this album, lot of soulfulness, lot of hip-hop vibes. A lot of great guitar work. It is a really overall fantastic album and a must to recommend. All of these are, but this is a absolute cracking album. Gives you that other sort of edge of nu metal. I would recommend Boom and Satellite from this one. Number 24 is Stained with Break the Cycle. Of course, everyone knew it's been a while. It was a huge hit, but I do think Stained were always better when they got a little bit more heavy, and they do that scattered throughout this album. I think they're really, really worth listening to when they get a little bit more dirty. I would recommend Can't Believe and For You. Number 23 is Machine Head with Supercharger. Don't let anyone tell you this isn't a good album. I prefer it tenfold to The Burning Red. I think it's a fantastic album with some great songs on it. Don't let anyone tell you different. You give it a listen and make up your own mind. I really like All in Your Head and Deafening Silence. I would recommend from this one. Number 22 is 1 Minute Silence with Buy Now, Save Later. Technically amazing. Sounds amazing. Guitars, drums, vocals, everything about this album is fantastic. Rage Against the Machine-esque vibes to this one, only heavier and with a little bit of British put in there for fun. It's absolutely fantastic. Definitely worth your time. I would recommend Rise and Shine and Fish Out of Water. Number 21, Alien Ant Farm with Anthology. Really, really, really fantastic album this is. Lots. I didn't realise actually listening back to this album how much they sound like Deftones. It is literally, a lot of it is just Deftones with another singer, which is fine by me. Obviously, everyone knows Movies and Smooth Criminal cover that they released, the Michael Jackson cover. They're fantastic, but I do think there's more on the album worth listening to. I would recommend Courage and Wish. Number 20, Fear Factory, Digimortal. we're getting old school Fear Factory with that little bit of nu metal flavour. Digimort was like the nu metal album in the Fear Factory sort of album range. Really good, highly recommend. I think still stands up with a lot of the more metal Fear Factory albums, but still has that little nu metal edge, like I said. I would recommend What Will Become and Lynchpin. Number 19, Mushroom Head with XX. I think if you are a Faith No More fan, you will really, really like this album. It's kind of like a more messed up, heavier Faith No More with nu metal. That's really, really hard to explain, but I guarantee you will really like it. I think this is definitely worth your time. I listened to this a lot back in the day. I would recommend Solitaire, Unraveling, and The Wrist. Number 18 is Coal Chamber with Dark Days. Now, a lot of people would have put the first Coal Chamber album. I actually think this is vastly superior to that. That probably has more hits, air quotes, that you shall you say, but I do think that Dark Days is a way better album. I also think it contains not just one of the best nu metal songs, one of the most disgusting metal songs of all time, which is Rowboat. That's one of the ones I recommend, and I also recommend Something Told Me. Number 17 is Spineshank with Self-Destruct Pattern. A lot like the last one, like Coal Chamber, people would probably say The Height of Callousness. I actually think this is a better album by a tiny little smidge. They're both great. But yeah, Self-Destruct Pattern is awesome. This album itself came out at a really bad time. Nu metal had died on its arse by the time this came out, unfortunately. If this would have came out in the middle of the height of nu metal, I honestly think it would have been mega, absolutely mega huge. Definitely worth your time listening to. I would recommend Smothered and Beginning of the End. Number 16 is American Head Charge with The War of Art. Fantastic album again. Little bit of an industrial sound to it, on the kind of heavier side of nu metal. If only this band would have stayed together for longer, if they really would have pushed, they could have absolutely skyrocketed. But let's not cry over spilt milk. This is a fantastic album, great time capsule all the time. I would recommend A Violent Reaction and Just So You Know. Number 15, Il Nino with Revolution/Revolution. Wow, what a fantastic album this is. If you're a drummer, this is a must-listen album. They bring the Latin vibes to nu metal/metal. It is incredible. Vocals are absolutely off the chain on this album. Great screams, great harmonies, amazing vocal hooks. This was one of my most listened to albums back in the day. Still love it now. Well worth your time. I would recommend If You Still Hate Me and Unreal. Number 14 is Mudvayne with LD50. I'm sure I don't have to tell you guys about Dig, the song Dig. I'm sure that's the song that everyone knows to do with Mudvayne. But this is a top class album and well worth listening to. Some of the bass playing on this album is just absolutely unreal. Great vocals, just an overall fantastic band. I would recommend Death Blooms and Severed. Number 13 is Head PE with Broke. A great, amazing, groovy album. Loads and loads of heavy guitars, awesome rapping, great singing. I'm sure you guys have heard Bartender before, but I would recommend Killing Time and Swan Dive. Number 12 is Evanescence with Fallen. I don't have to tell you guys how much of a big hit Bring Me to Life was, but I do think overall Ben Moody's guitar work on this album and Amy Lee's singing is a fantastic combination. I would recommend Everybody's Fall and Tourniquet. Number 11 is Static X with Wisconsin Death Trip. An amazing industrial nu metal album. I think if you're a fan of industrial metal or nu metal, I think you would really enjoy this album. Push It was a massive hit. I'm sure some of you know that if you know any Static X, but I would recommend Bled for Days and Figs. Number 10 I have put as Marilyn Manson with Holywood. Personally, I think this is the best Marilyn Manson album. There are a lot of good Marilyn Manson albums. I think this is top of the pile. I think the singles, Nobody's, Disposable Teens, Fight Song were absolutely incredible. Still sound absolutely amazing now. I think this is an album well worth your time if you like the darker side of nu metal, anything goth, or slightly industrial. If you're a fan of Nine Inch Nails, I think you should really listen to this. I know Manson was a huge Trent Reznor fan. From this, I would recommend In the Shadow of the Valley of Death and The Love Song. Number 9, Papa Roach, Infest. I'm sure I don't have to tell a lot of you how incredible this album is, or any of the ones in this top 10, but amazing album. Singles were great. Of course, you know, Broken Home, Last Resort, and Between Angels and Insects. But I would recommend from this album also listening to Infest and Dead Cell. Number 8, Deftones, White Pony. I could have put in earlier Deftones albums, but I don't really count that bit of it as new metal. I think it's classed as that, but I don't think it is. I think there's something else. I think that White Pony is smack bang in the middle of the new metal era of music. It's definitely the most new metal Deftones album, I would say. Still a absolutely class album all the way through. I'm sure you guys know Change, which was a absolutely massive song off of this album. But I would recommend Digital Bath and Passenger. Number 7 is Incubus with Science. Incubus really explored the funkier, sort of more experimental side of new metal, although it did have a lot of that stuff still in it. I think that any of their records I must listen to, but I think this one especially, for if you're a bass player or a drummer, any type of rhythm section is absolutely thrilling to listen to this album. Brilliant. Great guitar work. Really funky, really experimental in places, and absolutely must listen to album. I'm sure a lot of you know A Certain Shade of Green, but I will recommend New Skin and Favourite Things. Number 6, Disturbed with The Sickness. Possibly David Draiman and Disturbed at their best. They have done a lot of great stuff since, but this is an absolutely flawless album in my opinion. I know a lot of people know the song Down With a Sickness, but I would personally recommend The Game and Stupefy. Number 5 is System of a Down with Toxicity. Obviously, I don't have to tell you how much of a big track Toxicity and Chop Suey are, but on this album, bringing those Armenian guitar riffs with pure nu metal vibes. I can't understate how great this album is. I think everyone knows, but if you don't, please go and check it out. I would recommend A Forest and Needles. Number 4 is Korn, self-titled album Korn. Possibly the place where nu metal all began. Some people might say Faith No More kind of started it first. But yeah, right at the beginning, I think Korn are one of the most consistently good bands. All they do is put out good albums in my opinion. Starting with the first one, which is absolutely fantastic. A really good lesson in the very beginnings of nu metal. If you haven't heard it, it's a must listen to, like everything on this list. I would recommend Bull Tongue and Divine. Number 3, another self-titled, it's Slipknot. Again, it cannot be understated how much of an impact that this had on the metal community. Fantastic place to start with Slipknot. Again, very consistent with albums, a lot like Korn. This is another must listen to, guys. I know everyone knows, you know, Wait and Bleed, Surfacing, Sick, and Eyeless from this, but I really wouldn't recommend you to listen to No Life and Liberate. Number 2, Limp Bizkit's Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water. This is the reason why Limp Bizkit were the biggest band in the world, legitimately, when this came out. It is a seminal album, absolutely fantastic all the way through. I don't have to tell you guys all the singles off this one. I'm sure you know. Great band, fantastic. I really recommend this if you haven't heard it. If you hear people speaking down about Limp Bizkit, don't listen to it. Listen to it yourself and give it your own sort of flavour and see exactly if the hot dog flavoured water tastes any good. Oh, Jesus, that's a terrible joke. Anyway, I would recommend Full Nelson, and I feel like the song Boiler never gets enough love, and it is a masterpiece. So yes, Boiler and Full Nelson from this one. And finally, number 1, I'm sure you've guessed it if you've got all the way down here, but it is Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. I consider this to be the pinnacle of nu metal. It's an absolutely outstanding album that hasn't dated a second, still sounds just as good. Even Linkin Park have listened back to it and thought, wow, how the hell did we do that? I'm not going to tell you about any of the singles because I'm sure you guys know, but I think if you're a first-time listener, I think a good place to start apart from the singles would be Points of Authority, which was a single, and By Myself. Good place to start. But yes, incredible album, and of course, rest in peace, Chester Bennington. So that was it, the 30 best nu metal albums. I hope you guys really enjoyed that video. I had a lot of fun making this because I absolutely love nu metal. Thank you very much for watching. Please tell me which nu metal albums I missed out or any that I should listen to in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Once again, the playlist itself is in the link in the description, and I'll see you dudes in the next video. Rah!